What's up, everybody? Welcome to this video. We're going to talk about something super important here, arguably one of the most important videos that I've ever made. So hopefully you guys take the time to watch this one and especially share this out with your friends and your family members who are maybe older friends and family members or people who are more at risk for having some serious complications with COVID-19. So we're going to talk a little bit about breathing exercises to potentially help with mitigating some of the detrimental effects of COVID-19. And we're going to dig into this. And the reason it's so important, we posted a video like this a few weeks ago on our XPT channel, but I know a lot of you maybe don't follow XPT who subscribe here to my channel. So I want to make sure I get this information out to everybody. We've done a lot of extensive research looking at some of these research studies on coronaviruses, which there's not a lot. And we looked at breathing exercises and some of the negative effects and the complications people are having from coronaviruses and from COVID-19. So I'm going to share with you guys what we've collected based on the research that's currently out there, as well as speaking with a handful of different experts from breathing, but also some experts, some friends of ours who are working on the front lines with the Mayo Clinic and with the Department of Defense, trying to find ways to get through this current situation that we're in. And these recommendations come directly from them, and that's why I feel so confident sharing them with you. So I want to start off with a disclaimer by saying that this is by no means saying that we are going to prevent or treat COVID-19, nor is this a recommendation to ignore any of the stuff that's currently being out there from the World Health Organization, the CDC. You should be following all of those guidelines. This is something additional that could possibly help, particularly because most of us are probably going to get COVID-19 at some point. So we know that COVID-19 attacks the respiratory system. We know that people who have really serious complications and are dying from this, a lot of them are from respiratory dysfunction, pneumonia, all kinds of stuff that's associated to respiration. So the thing that I can feel confident in saying that is doing these exercises is absolutely not going to make you any worse off than you are today. And it definitely can create a ton of health benefits for you. And there is some potential that this could mitigate some of the risk that you have for dealing with COVID-19. So that's why I'm so confident sharing this information, because I think it's super important for people. We're going to dig into it. I'm going to give you guys a whole bunch of practical exercises to go through that you can do at home, and it's going to be really simple. So to start off, we're going to talk a little bit about nasal breathing. Nasal breathing is super important. We know there's a ton of health benefits to nasal breathing. We know that nasal breathing helps to decrease stress in the body in general, and getting out of states of stress and decreasing cortisol is a huge thing for boosting immune system function. So again, those are some other benefits, but specific to coronaviruses, nasal breathing produces a gas called nitric oxide in the nasal cavity. And the gas is produced in general, but when we breathe through the nose, we actually pull that gas down into the lungs, and therefore we can utilize that gas. And there's a whole bunch of benefits to nitric oxide. One of the specific benefits is antimicrobial. So we've actually seen in research studies back in like 2003 or 2005 on SARS, they used nitric oxide, and they found that nitric oxide actually prohibited the reproduction of the viral cells. So the important part about that study is that if nitric oxide can inhibit the reproduction of those cells, we can therefore potentially battle against the reproduction of these cells in our body. Now, that's a very big jump from the mechanism to application, because those research studies were done in vitro, so not inside of the human body. They weren't done with nasal nitric oxide. So to say that that's actually going to stop the replication of cells, viral cells in your body, would be a massive leap, and that's not the claim I'm making. But again, there's a ton of health benefits to nasal breathing in general, and if there's any potential risk that they can decrease the replication of cells of the virus, then that's just a huge additional benefit. Also, the nose helps to filter and clean out the air. So there's a filtration system built in. So if potentially you are bringing in any kind of environmental bacteria or viruses, the nose can help clean that out when we bring it in. It's a filtration system for what goes into our body. So another huge benefit. So first takeaway for you, you need to be nasal breathing as much as possible. You should be nasal breathing all the time at rest. You should be nasal breathing, especially when you're out in public. but you need to get into a habit of nasal breathing. So I want you to spend a few minutes nasal breathing to start to build that habit. First thing you can do in the morning is wake up and do a few light nasal breaths to get the day started. And on the exhales, you can actually do some humming, which has a whole bunch of effects on decreasing stress, getting us into a parasympathetic restful state. Again, all of those things are going to boost our body's, our immune system function and our body's ability to just function at a high level, because chronic stress has severe negative effects on our body. But humming also increases nasal nitric oxide production. So we're going to significantly bump up somewhere between 7 to 10 times more nitric oxide production through humming. So I want you to spend 5 minutes just doing some light breathing through the nose, humming on the exhale. I know it sounds funny, so do it in your bedroom or you're by yourself. And then inhale through the nose deep down into the belly and ribs, and that's going to be a huge step in the right direction. So that's number one practical takeaway for you, is nasal breathing. Number two, it's super important that we have a strong respiratory system. We have to strengthen the respiratory muscles. If you don't have a strong inhale and a strong exhale, then you are significantly increasing your risk when you run into things that compromise the respiratory system. COVID-19 compromises the respiratory system. A lot of people are dying from things that could potentially be avoided if they had a much stronger respiratory system. Our respiratory system starts to decline in its abilities and function. We start to lose function of the diaphragm, the primary breathing muscle, around the age of 5 years old, and we start to see a significant decline in respiratory function in our late 20s. So we need to keep this strong, even just to maintain what we have. But a lot of us are already operating at such a low level. We want to build some strength. I've got some really simple ways that you can do it. I'm going to show you what we're doing. So Pearl is here to guide you through some of these demonstrations. But what I'm doing personally, and what most of my family members are using this device here, this is called a Breather Fit. I've got no association with the company, but a good friend of mine, the one who's on the front lines dealing with the Mayo Clinic, specifically recommended that we use this device. I personally like this device a lot because it resists the inhale and the exhale. A lot of resisted breathing devices out there only resist one or the other. So that's why I like this device a lot. But I'm gonna show you the exercises that we do using simple at-home tools. So all you're gonna need, one we have is a balloon, but the primary one we're gonna use is just a straw. So you can get this anywhere at home. Pearl is gonna show you the exercises. I highly recommend that you guys do these. I'm gonna show you the exercises first, and then we're gonna talk about how often you should be doing them, how many reps, and all of that kind of stuff. But we'll get into the exercise in a minute here. But it's really important to keep in mind, strengthening the respiratory muscles is critical. And for a lot of you out there who are thinking, hey, I'm super fit, I do a lot of cardio, so my respiratory system's strong. Or I'm a yogi, I do a lot of yoga, so I do a lot of breathing. The reality is, if you're not specifically training the respiratory muscles, you're probably operating from a very low point. Cardiovascular fitness will do something at the onset, but most people I've dealt with, I train elite athletes, and most of them are very weak when it comes to respiratory function, specifically in an inhale or an exhale. So we want to be able to train that. Yogis as well. If you've had a 20-year yoga practice and you've been focusing on actually improving respiratory strength and endurance, then you're probably okay. But for most of you, if you're just going to yoga a couple days a week and you're doing some breathing, you're most likely not improving respiratory strength. You might be a little better off than the people never working on breath work, but these are important exercises because we're going to provide resistance to the respiratory muscles, and therefore we're going to build endurance and we're going to build strength. And these are super important things. And they'll also lead over to a whole bunch of other stuff. If you never have any effects from COVID-19, you're going to be much better off because we're going to actually improve sport performance, we can improve health and function, lots of other stuff. So there's a lot of other secondary benefits that you're going to get from this. So I'm going to get Perla in the best breathing position possible, and we're going to start off just with the straw. So if you only have a straw, this is all you're going to need for the first couple weeks. We're going to get Perla down in a supine position on her back. And what I want her to do first, it's super, super important that you have good breathing mechanics. So if you haven't watched any information on breathing mechanics, for the purpose of keeping this video less than an hour, I want I'm not going to go too deep into breathing mechanics because I already have a ton of that content out there. Again, go back to xptlife.com, go to xptlife on Instagram. We've got tons of videos on proper breathing mechanics where you guys can learn these. But if you don't have good breathing mechanics, adding resistance to your breathing is just going to strengthen your dysfunction. So we want to build good mechanics first, then we can add resistance and strengthen the right muscles. So what I'm going to show you really quickly from a mechanics standpoint, when Perla takes a big inhale through her nose, I want you to see her belly rising here. So notice the belly is rising on the inhale, the chest is not really moving, and then as she exhales, the belly and ribs are all going to contract. So if you're looking at me here, my ribs would move out laterally as I inhale and contract in as I exhale. So we want to think about this whole section as expanding as we inhale, and that's going to make sure we're using the right muscles to do the work. We don't want to see Perla's neck really start to tense up and her shoulders and everything elevate as she tries to breathe. So if you start to do some of these exercises with resistance and you feel all these muscles turn on, then you need to slow it down, take it down a notch. Okay, but we're gonna get right into, this isn't that much resistance, so it actually can be a good way to learn how to breathe properly, but I want you to always keep in mind good breathing mechanics. Breathing into the belly and ribs when we inhale, and then as we exhale, driving the belly and ribs, contracting in and driving the belly to the spine. Perla's gonna put the straw in her mouth, and the first thing we're gonna do is we're only focused on the exhales. So Perla's gonna do big inhales through the nose, filling the belly and ribs, and then when she exhales, she's gonna blow out through the straw, and I want her to pretend like she's trying to get as much air through that straw as fast as possible, like there was a whole bunch of candles on the ceiling and she's trying to blow out all those candles. So go ahead and take a big inhale through the nose, filling the belly and ribs and expanding, and then exhale hard through the straw, blowing all that air out. Notice her ribs are dropping down, her belly's dropping down, all the air's out. Now go ahead and inhale, fill the belly and ribs. Exhale, drive the belly into the spine, ribs coming down, keep blowing hard through the straw, blow all that air out. And then inhale through the nose. One more, exhale, blow it all out. Notice her cheeks aren't puffing up as she's exhaling. She's just driving from the belly. All the breath is driven from the belly. Good, you can just relax and normal breathe. So that's the first exercise, hard exhales. If we can't exhale well, we can't inhale well. Most of us are stuck in a position of inhalation where we don't exhale. We're stuck with like a half tank full here of our lung capacity. And because we don't exhale all the way out, we get in a bad position. We can't inhale well. So exercise number 1 for you. Straw in your mouth, nasal inhale, big full inhale, hard exhale through the straw, as hard as you can, blowing out all your air, feel the ribs come down, 10 breaths. That's your first exercise. I want you to do 3 sets of that. Then you can build on to this next exercise. Now, you might only do this exercise. If you feel like you're struggling to get big inhales, I want you to only do this exhale exercise for the first couple days, and then you can move on to the next one. But I'm gonna teach you both of them right now. The next exercise, we're now gonna move on to inhales as well. Everything's gonna be identical. The only difference here is now we're gonna resist the inhale. So when Perla goes to inhale, she's gonna inhale through the straw through her mouth. Again, really focusing on filling the belly and ribs. It's easy when we switch over to mouth breathing to tend to inhale and lift the shoulders. So she's gonna resist the inhale and resist the exhale. We're gonna take nice long breaths here. So I want you to go ahead and exhale all the way out. Exhaling, ribs come down. Big, strong inhale through the mouth. Filling the belly and ribs all the way as much as you can. Hold at the top. Strong exhale through the mouth. All the way empty. Big, full inhale. Pull that air in. You want to create resistance with the straw, so feel like you're pulling the air in aggressively. Blow it out. Especially on the inhales, I want you to focus on the muscles in the neck. If you feel those muscles tensing up, relax the muscles of the neck and focus on driving with the belly. So, you can relax, Perla, thank you. So that's the second exercise. I want you to do 5 to 10 reps of that. Give yourself plenty of rest in between, and you're gonna do 3 sets. okay? So it's 3 sets of those hard exhales for 10 reps. Then you're gonna move on to 3 sets of 5 to 10. I say 5 to 10 because you might get a little bit tired, lightheaded as you're doing this at first. If you do, cut it at 5. Then you can build to 7 reps, 9 reps, 10 reps, and then we're gonna build up to 3 sets. Once you get to 3 sets, and you do that for a few days, then you can start to add sets, and we can build up to 5 total sets. So the goal at the end of this is gonna be doing 5 sets of 8 to 10 reps in the morning and at night. So you've got 2 times a day. So we want to really build the respiratory strength. Now it doesn't matter if you do it morning or if you do it mid-afternoon. I like to do these as a little break from work. I got my desk right here. I get out from the desk, I lay down, I do 2 sets of 10, get back to my desk, get back to work. I want to get a lot of sets in throughout the day. So that's the exercise. The only addition to that, if the straw becomes easy, for a lot of you, this is great resistance, and this should take you twice a day for a couple of weeks is a great way to build some strength in the respiratory muscles. But if you notice it starts becoming really easy, you can move on. One, by getting a respiratory trainer like I have, which is an awesome thing because you can actually crank up the intensity so you can continue to build strength. Or we can start to strengthen the exhales with a balloon. I'm gonna show you that one real quick. You can't really use this on the inhale, but you can use this on the exhale to build a strong exhale. So Pearl's gonna put the balloon in her mouth. Same drill we just did with the straw at the beginning. She's gonna inhale through the nose, fill her lungs all the way up. She's gonna exhale into the balloon as hard as she can. She's just lightly holding it with her fingers, trying to explode that balloon, empty all the air out. Inhale into the nose, fill up as much as she can, exhale into the balloon. Really trying to blow that balloon up and make it explode. Good, you can relax. So she would continue that for about 5 breaths or until the balloon is completely full, however you want to do that. But the balloon provides a lot of resistance, so you need some strong exhale strength to be able to blow that balloon up. So it's another great tool. Okay, so those are your exercises. Again, I'm going to review those really quick. You can sit up, thank you. So, real quick review. Nasal breathing as much as you possibly can, all the time when you're out, all the time when you're at rest, when you're working, when you're walking around, even during exercise. That'll help strengthen the respiratory muscles as well, because this is a natural resistance to the air. So you start exercising, there's a whole bunch of benefits to nasal breathing, but it's also going to force you to use the respiratory muscles. It's kind of like breathing through a straw during exercise. So try that out as well. Try out a little nasal breathing practice. Maybe it's 5 minutes in the morning with a humming exhale. Again, this is going to help you relax. It's going to help you de-stress, and it's going to produce that nitric oxide and bring it down into the lungs. We've got a ton of benefits here across the board. It's like a snowball effect. You do one thing and it creates 10 benefits, or a spider web, or whatever analogy you want. So that's your first exercise. Next exercise is going to be those resisted exhales using the straw. Inhale into the nose, hard exhale out the mouth, feeling the belly and ribs come down. 10 reps, up to 3 sets. And you can do that morning and night. And then you're going to move on to resisting the inhales and the exhales. Again, breathing through the straw, big hard inhale, big hard exhale. 5 to 10 reps, working your way up from 3 to 5 total sets. You're going to do that one twice a day. That's going to be your end goal. Keep doing that one every day. Keep building up the strength. If you skip it one day, whatever, it doesn't matter. Build up consistency. It's all about doing a lot of this stuff over time. Sit down at your desk and do a few of these at your desk. Any additional accumulation of total work is going to be a big benefit. Those are what's going to take you forward. Then you can continue moving forward to a balloon if you want to work on more strength, or if you're doing it consistently, I recommend picking up something like this Breather Fit. That's what this one is called. And I can put a link to that in the notes at the bottom. Again, no associations with them, but I think it's a great product and it's something I use personally all the time, and I recommended all my family members to buy. So get your straw, start doing these exercises, and then most importantly, share this one out with your friends and family, because a lot of us are going to continue to be impacted by COVID-19. This might mitigate some of the detrimental and really serious health effects that some of these people may have, particularly people who are unhealthy, diseased populations who have certain chronic illnesses, elderly populations, any of those people who are at a much higher risk of having some adverse effects. This can potentially save people's lives. So it's certainly worth sharing. At the absolute worst case, this stuff is going to help you to be healthier. It's going to increase your immune system function. It's going to decrease your stress. It's going to improve your performance in fitness and in health. It's going to improve longevity. There's thousands of great health benefits to this stuff, and that's the worst case scenario. Best case, we're potentially mitigating some really serious effects of this virus that we're all facing. So I hope this one was helpful to you guys. Definitely try this out and share it out with your friends and family. Get this message out there to anybody who needs it. I appreciate you guys watching. We have tons of great information on XPT Life, so definitely go check that out. I don't update my channel here as much. I put tons of content on XPT Life's social media, so definitely go check that out. I've got that one down in the notes at the bottom as well. So come and check it out. Appreciate you guys watching this video, and stay safe out there.